Good morning to everybody. This is a recording because at the moment I am in Tokyo to present the Mose storm surge barrier here, and Venice is becoming more and more a global laboratory for resilience and adaptation. My presentation is about the Mose storm surge barrier and its capabilities and flexibilities. The Venice Lagoon is a very complex system, as you can see. There are many historical areas, the historical city of Venice and Chioggia, the Marco Polo Airport, Porto Marghera, the industrial area with the navigation channel. Fish farm, 16% of the lagoon is devoted to fish farming, a very important resort along the Cavallino beach and Jesolo and Chioggia and Sottomarina, and huge socio-ecological transformation. Here you can see the fish farm of Chioggia and the harbor of Venice, the historical city, the market in Rialto, and the crowd, excess of tourism. This is another problem of Venice. But Venice is not a city of culture and art, it's also a lagoon with the species that maintain the habitat, the structure of the habitat, and they provide the ecosystem services to the human. I will describe very rapidly the transformation of the lagoon, starting with the direction of the river out of the lagoon to avoid the stagnation of the water that was thought responsible of Black Death and siltation of the harbor. From trial and error, the Venetian succeeded in bringing Piave out of the lagoon, Sile out of the lagoon again. Marzenego is still coming, but was relocated far from Venice, and Brenta River that was discharging just in front of Venice and with many attempts was brought south. Not only the river has been modified, but also the barrier island, at the beginning with wood pile, but then using more robust system with stones and pozzolanic cement. In 1700, Zendrini rediscovered the pozzolanic cement in use since Roman time, from a travel to Amsterdam. The terrible flooding of the 12th of November 2019, before the barrier were in operation, caused a huge damage and put a lot of pressure on the commissioner to put the barrier in operation. My organization contributed, rising concern among the population for having the barrier operated with the 15,000 people that made their own signature. This is the flooding of the 4th of November 1966. This one, November 12, 2019.
Queste immagini sono state girate nel centro storico di Venezia, dove i danni sono incalcolabili. A Murano si sono avute ondate.
But now the dominant problem is the acceleration in the frequency of flooding. 10 times more flood, 6 times more extreme flood, higher than 148 centimeters. In red, you can see how they are concentrated in more recent time. The 22 of November 2022, there is a good news. The Mose was operated, stopping a flood of a magnitude very similar to the extreme one. The sea level is rising. Here you can see the black line, the mean high tide, in this paint of 1700 by Canaletto. And in this picture, the situation now. From here, we can get this magic figure of 20-25 centimeters per century. And now we have 50 centimeters per century. So this tendency has doubled, and the acceleration is still there. So it is going to increase. Adaptation of the urban settlement is limited. Since 1400, this canal bank was elevated, you see here. And so the solution is the closure of the barrier, together with the local protection and the naturally based solution of reinforcing the littoral, salt marshes inside the lagoon, and the tidal flood, reusing dredged sediment. The local protection is limited because we cannot modify too much the view of the historical city, and that's why we need to close the barrier at the lagoon inlets. It's a flexible system because it allows navigation. It is a local protected, so it cannot be operated so frequently because there are local protection. it's not only to close on and off, but we can also close partially the barrier, one inlet instead of the others, and also subset of flaps. We can use that not only to reduce the number of total closure and the impact on the port activity, but also to improve the water quality and the sediment condition in the lagoon, the sediment that are nourishing the salt marshes. Here are some example of on-off use. A single closure, more closure to deal with a particular weather condition, need to close the open Chioggia and Malamocco for special navigational needs, or partial closure only Lido to reduce the impact on navigation and to induce a tidal flushing, so for water quality reasons. So we can prevent the pollution by limiting the spillage of pollutants or have an environmental use inducing a tidal flushing during an anoxic period in summer, reduce the sediment loss from tidal flood to channel and the sea by limiting the current, or facilitating the wetland process of accretion and the bird nesting during the reproductive season. This is an example of unexpected novelties, the formation of this new island in the Bacan, the area in which the Venetians go for swimming and collecting clams. This was totally unexpected and is due to the lack of overtopping of the summer deposits that during the winter can continue to grow, accreting by the interception of plant and other organic debris. But the very actors, the very makers of this are the microbial mats. So we can provide these preliminary remarks that Venice is protected from floods in time of climate change and the quality of the environment has been improved. The system exhibits a great flexibility with the possibility to be operated with partial closure or total closure for environmental and social benefit. To do this, to get these results, there was the need of developing multidisciplinary knowledge and experience in managing the socio-ecological system. Venice, for instance, is a founding member of the Ice Storm Committee that is putting together the manager of the storm surge barrier all over the world. And I was in Tokyo together with Mark Verraven from Rotterdam, another founding member. Altogether, Venice is becoming more and more an accessible living laboratory for other coastal cities facing climate change and also social changes. But let's go now to the details. The barrier will become sooner or later useless if sea level is rising, because there will be no low tide to start operating the barrier. And this is a problem. A lot of opponents of the barriers used this argument, saying that if there is a sea level rise, very rapidly the Mose will become obsolete. But this is not the proper argument, because if there is a sea level rise, we need more and more to close the lagoon. And if we have the Mose, as it is the case, the benefits are much larger than the cost. Last year, at the international conference held in Venice on sea level rise, we had the chance to stress the point that if we want to continue to adapt in Venice, we need local participation of the local people. The local people has to become the peer review of the process of adaptation. In order to reach this result, we need to improve the communication and knowledge, sharing of knowledge among the people that has the experience and the lay people, the citizen. Who are the citizens of Venice? All the world, all the people that are interested and love Venice. This is the only way to safeguard the city in the future and to reduce the damages of mass tourism that is bringing great problem in terms of local identity and drift toward the Las Veganization that was called this process of losing the local identity, the local job and business with rapid transformation that make the city more and more artificial and with deep lack of artisan, fishermen, people strictly connected to the natural resources. This is the solution that Professor Adami and me brought forward last year to the International Conference on Sea Level Rise in Venice, in San Giovanni Evangelista. It is about transforming Venice into a polder, coastal lake, with this boundary at an elevation of 3 meters that can be adapted to 4 meters to 5 meters, whatever the needs will be in future, with the production of electricity, continuous flushing of the lagoon with 3 pumps, and mainly the beneficial use of this dike for many, many services. The School of Architecture, the local School of Architecture, produced this utopia of Venice with beach all around the city, beaches, and wetland inside, and green park all over the edges, with navigation logs and exchange of water with the nearby system. But this is too complicated. More simple, what we propose is to have a power plant and 3 pumping station, and have a local navigation that is connected with external navigation with the ramps that can be very rapidly transferred the ship from inside to outside, because the transport system will be totally modified by the possibility to move along the perimeter, avoiding the impact of traffic inside the Lake of Venice, so-called. Everything is based on the concept of super levy that will make regulated water for horticulture, urban park, an inner littoral, power production, renewable energy on top of these dikes, safe fishing and marinas around the historical city. This is really a great idea, according to me. These are some visual presentation, and with this idea we won the international competition in Boston 2017. In 2015, together with Tetis, with this concept of total resilience. And this will allow us to swim again in the city of Venice, as it was the case in the past, and lets the city marble shine again, because we can remove all the structure that has been added on the last 300 years, and the green line will be controlled 1 meter below the present mean sea level. This is the activity of the Venice Lab to promote Venice as a laboratory and to promote the participation and the peer review of the people about the future processes of adaptation. Some details about the work. First of all, adaptation of the soil with this compaction pole, adaptation of the bottom with the bottom protection to avoid scouring in case of one flap is not able to enter into operation, with a great current of 6 meters per second that are produced in the bottom. We have also the flexibility adaptation to the tidal flow. When not in use, the barrier will lay on the bottom, and there are a redundancy, very high level of redundancy to improve the safety of the system, the reliability of the system, with the possibility of raising each flap with 4 independent replicated items. This is how it is operated, just injecting this amount of air in this upper chamber. The gate is able to rise. This volume produce a lift of 300 tons. When all the air is removed, it can maintain 3 meters of water at sea with 0 or 80 centimeters of water in the lagoon. If sea level will increase, this flap will exhibit a overtopping, partial overtopping, but this will provide a long time of protection also for 1 or 2 hours of water that exceed the 4 meters. Here you see the combination. The solution is a row of flap gate. The other was not considered but discarded because of the impact and the constraints. The other barrier in the well are not so elegant as the Mose storm surge barrier, I must say. For barrier, 78 flaps, 1.6 kilometer. Lido, we have a navigation lock for overcraft and small vessels that has to come on time in and out of Venice. Here we have the navigation lock. There are, at the moment, the completion work by the end of the year, but criticism about the possibility for the large container to enter. Also, the cruise ship have difficulties in going through this inlet. So the navigation will be, in this condition, will be impacted by the closure of the barrier. And the flexibility of the barrier will be put in action to maintain navigation through the Malamocco Inlet, closing Lido and Chioggia as much as possible and earlier to avoid the total closure of Malamocco. Chioggia, there is a fishing harbor with 2 navigation locks to allow the 100 fishing boats to go to Chioggia. Very important item, the connectors of the male-female connector that will fix the flap to the concrete. The caissons are immersed in the tunnels, the foundation, and the dry dock of Cavallino. Coupling, and the maintenance barge called Jack-Up. And here you can see the rubber and the steel that will connect the lateral wall with the longitudinal tunnel, just using the pneumatic pressure. Temporary installation device. Before the completion of the jack-up, this installation temporary crane was very effective. This is on the basis of the experience gained during the last 3 years. Like system, what has been done, you can see big numbers. This presentation will be distributed, so I don't go through all these details. What I want to say, implemented with the protection of the litter, with the so-called protective beach nourishment, with 8 million cubic meters of sand that was, most of it, dredged at sea from a borough area, and also from the deposit at the entrances of Lido Inlet. This is an example of the coastal protection, 270 meters. In 1 month, we were able to put this volume of sand with the dredger. Protection of the island, construction of salt marshes. These are the area in which the artificial salt marshes has been constructed. Very simple system, just with 5-year time, nature keep over this deposit of mud and sand at the proper elevation. Restoration of historical eye example, and the protection of abandoned downside of the past. This also is an important work. Local protection to reduce the number of closure of the barrier. Saturn, a good example. San Marco has been protected, the church, with this glass wall, and now it's underway the protection of the entire square till the elevation of 110, because the San Marco Square gets flooded at 70 centimeters, so more than 100 times per year. Venice continues to be the oldest city of the future, practicing formal and informal exchanges with other water cities for environmental restoration and disaster risk reduction. This knowledge is also available both by institutional exchanges and by local community interaction through adaptive hospitality. We expect that this exercise will improve resilience and adaptation in the future. Thank you.